finished in 5th place, 25 games out, closer to the bottom than to the top. The Tigers, the papers had taken to calling them kittens, hadn't lifted anyone's spirits, not in a long time. It had been almost a quarter-century since the team had captured first place. Long gone were the heady days of Ty Cobb. Frank Navin felt it, not only in his weakening 62-year-old heart, but also in his pocketbook. Attendance had plummeted to barely 4,000 per game, 321,000 for the year, the lowest since the war, and a steep drop from the 1 million who had come in 1924, the last time the Tigers had seriously contended. Weary of waiting for a champion, fans belittled Navin as a cheap, complacent loser. Even longtime friend and Detroit Free Press editor Malcolm Bingay, who, as a Cub reporter, had covered the Tigers during their heyday, urged his old pal, in newsprint, to produce a winner. If baseball is a sport, then Frank Navin should bestir himself to present to the public some form of competition, he wrote. It's up to Mr. Navin to show some sporting blood. Take a gambler's chance. Spend some money. Gambler's chance, a sly choice of words by Bing. As a young man, Frank Navin had worked taking bets for a bookie and dealing cards in a gaming house. There he learned the art of poker. He still loved to gamble. Schooled to become an attorney, he eventually bet stacks of bills, reportedly parlaying a $5,000 prize at an all-night poker party into a greater share of the Tigers. But wagering on cards paled beside his love of horses. He rode daily at the Detroit Riding and Hunt Club, followed the thoroughbreds passionately, studied racing forms, owned a box at 2 tracks across the river in Windsor, and went almost annually to the Kentucky Derby. Once firmly established as a baseball executive, he bought a racing stable near Lexington, Kentucky, and raised horses as a pastime. Navin bet smartly and heavily, and he won regularly. When he did lose, he did so without remorse. In gambling, money came and went. But with his business, it was different. The team provided Navin's income. Unlike his sometimes silent partner, automotive tycoon Walter O. Briggs, Navin didn't have a gushing stream of non-baseball revenue. The team was mostly it. When it came to running his club, Navin guarded his money. He bordered on miserly, shunned expensive prospects, and claimed poverty in negotiations, bickering over small amounts. Players found him cold, unsmiling. They called him a nickel nurser. Cobb referred to him as Old Stoneface. With his ball club, Navin, the frugal business owner, kept Navin, the gambler, in check. Until Mickey Cochrane. Since arriving in the major leagues, Cochrane had been part of the Philadelphia team that for 9 straight seasons finished ahead of the Tigers in the American League. Navin could not have helped but notice him. Cochrane pulsed with energy. He needled opponents, dove for foul balls, and expended every ounce of himself on the field. He abhorred losing, and after avoidable defeats flew into tantrums. When Cobb, long believed to be the most competitive man in the game, was finishing his career with the Athletics, he saw the young Cochrane up close. He put on one of the greatest examples of what it means to be a hard loser that I've ever seen, said Cobb. Cochrane wasn't only a hothead. He had the ability to motivate teammates, to keep the game loose at the right moment, and to inspire and arouse. Men fall naturally into his groove, particularly young men who are still impressionable and who unconsciously ape a leader, wrote H.G. Harry Salsinger, the formidable dean of Detroit baseball writers, a man so sage that his august column could legitimately carry the tag, The Umpire. Yet for all of his achievements, Mickey Cochrane had never managed a club, and there, for Navin, lay the gamble. He was putting his team in the hands of a rookie manager, and it was a costly experiment. The Depression had eroded Navin's finances as well as Connie Mack's. Mack had been selling his stars to stay in business. Ball players had little say in such matters. Owners bought and unloaded them as they pleased. If he hadn't found a buyer for Cochrane, Mack would have had to cut Cochrane's wages, which gave the catcher reason to be receptive to Detroit's inquiries. To purchase him, Navin borrowed $100,000, backed by a bank and the much wealthier Briggs, who had wanted Cochrane for years. During such dire economic times, the transaction posed significant risks to Navin. Navin Field occupied a corner 6 blocks from the train station, just east along Michigan Avenue at Trumbull. On Friday morning, Cochrane went to Navin's office to talk of the coming season. Age-wise, the two men could have been father and son.